I've had my Rolex Explorer II for 7 months. I have thoughts, I have trips, I have experiences, I have a wedding in there. There's a lot of different things to cover, but the main question is it a keeper? And we'll talk about that. So I bought my Rolex Explorer II in May last year while I was on honeymoon with my wife in Switzerland. And the buying process was pretty impulsive. I can tell you that from my standpoint, I originally went there looking for a Black Bay Pro, but they were, it was new. No one had them. No one still has them. But I was trying. I thought, hey, if I'm in Switzerland, if I'm in Europe, maybe I'll be able to find one. Now, the problem is in the back of my mind, I was having this nagging feeling that I've always wanted an Explorer II, specifically the polar version. And so when we were in Geneva, we're walking around, we're looking at these different shops. In the window, I see sitting there a Polar Explorer. I'm like, hey, stop, hey, come over here. I tell my wife, I'm pointing at it through the window. I'm like, look at that, that's a Polar Explorer. And she doesn't, at the time, she knows pretty good about watches because she listens to me, and I appreciate that she listens to me rant. And she kind of knew what it was, but I don't think she knew how much I liked it or how much I was interested in it. So we walked away, and eventually we came back to that same store because I just wanted to see it in person. Plus that store also had like vintage Speedmasters, which I love, so I wanted to look at those. Eventually I bought it, and I wore it throughout the rest of the honeymoon, and it was a great experience. I mean, some of my favorite memories of our honeymoon are me wearing it and us being somewhere. And I tried as best as possible to imbue those memories into this thing. So when I look at it, I see Lake Como. When I look at it, I see these amazing places and moments with my wife that, I'm lucky enough to share. One, to have her, and two, to have these moments with her. And ideally, I plant them into an object so that I can feel some of that when I look at it. Fast forward 2 months, and I started to have issues where the honeymoon phase of the watch had ended. And I started to look at it, and I started thinking, if you've got this much money in the Explorer II, you could have gotten this, this, and this. So an example, I've always wanted a GMT Master II Pepsi with a faded bezel. So I started thinking, well, I could have gotten that, or I could still get that. And I think if I hadn't put the memories into the watch, I probably would have sold it because, you always are yearning for the next thing. And the nice thing about me having bought this and put those memories into it is it made me not want to sell it. And it made me hold on to it. And what happened is my appreciation for the watch grew again. And I think that's the part I miss on most watches. Over the last 7 months, I have originally loved it. I started to wish I could have gotten something else, and then I've started to grow again to the point where now this is by far the favorite watch of mine in my collection. Now, I love my original Explorer, but I typically don't wear it day to day. This is almost always the thing I pull out of my box and put on my wrist, at least at this moment. So as a note, before I go into the rest of my thoughts, if you're someone out there, you have a watch and you're thinking about selling it, try to hold on to it. Sometimes being forced to hold on to something makes you appreciate it even more. And I don't know how that works, but you kind of just live with it and you grow with it. And when you know you're never going to sell it, you gain a different appreciation for the watch, I think. Or you look at it differently, I guess. The last two things that have really sealed this for me as, staying in my collection forever. One was about a month ago, I went on a ski trip with my wife and a couple of our friends. And I have some of the footage playing here. My wife is a crazy skier. She goes very fast down the mountain, and she has no regard for how quick she's moving, and we always have fun with that. Obviously, I want her to be safe, but we always have a good time. And I took a GoPro, and it was a pain because it kept turning off. The battery kept dying because it was too cold. And so then I had to hook it up to a battery pack and then record everything. And so if you get a GoPro, bring a charging pack, because when you're on the mountain, sometimes it'll die because the battery gets too cold, whatever. Point is, it was a great trip. And I remember moments on the mountain looking at the watch. And I remember moments of standing at the top of the mountain looking at, this beautiful landscape and then looking down at this. I think that's what watches are all about. They're not meant to imbue a moment into the watch. As much as I try to, you forget sometimes over time. And sometimes there are exceptions to that. My wedding is an exception to that. But there are other moments where it elevates the experience, the appreciation that I had of life, the beauty of life. As I'm looking out over this wonderful landscape, I look at this watch and it just increases that feeling of how lucky I feel, how blessed I feel to be alive, to be in this moment, to be experiencing this, to have something like this that I've always wanted. It's an amplifier almost to some of those moments. And that's what this watch was for me in that moment. So that was one thing that I think has solidified it. The other thing was actually my brother's wedding, which was a couple days ago now. By the time I edit this video, it might have been a week or two ago. Before his actual wedding, I asked him if he wanted to borrow something for the actual event because, you know, it's nice to wear something that makes you feel good. And so I brought my whole collection over and I said, just pick whatever you want out of the box for him to wear. And he ended up picking this one. I think it fit his wrist a little bit better. He's even taller and bigger than I am, not that you can see it through the camera. So it's very obvious that he needed a bigger watch. And so this one I think was a perfect choice for him. What's funny is my brother's not a big watch guy, but he told me multiple times throughout the wedding how much he was appreciating wearing it, how, you know, cool it looked, or how much he really appreciated me letting him borrow it, or he was very kind about it. And I think for him, it also was an amplifier of the moment. It was a way to, you know, take an already wonderful and, you know, amazing experience of getting married and amplifying that experience of being so lucky through something like this. So that, again, was an element that this watch will always have in it. So over this last 7 months, what I would tell you is it doesn't matter if you want an Explorer II. And if you do, I don't blame you. I love it. There are moments also where I like other watches more that I don't have, because that's always the feeling. The grass is greener somewhere else with a different watch. But with this one, or with any watch in your collection, what I would say is enjoy it. Use it as an amplifier, and you'll find that you like it. You want to keep it around. Now, as for this watch specifically, over the last 7 months, I would tell you that I find it a little less under the radar than I originally thought. When I look at pictures of me, or when my brother wore it for the wedding, I notice how loud the white dial is. People notice that you're wearing a watch. With a black dial, they notice the metal bracelet, and they notice that you're wearing something other than an Apple Watch. But with the white dial, they tend to, I think, notice it a little bit more. I definitely noticed it a lot on his wrist and a lot in the pictures of me. So I feel like that is one of the elements that I said it was a tool watch early on. And I think over the last 7 months, I still feel that way a little bit, but I do think it's a little louder than I originally gave it credit for. And part of me actually likes that, to the point where I'm considering buying a Jubilee to put on this, because I want to, you know, amplify it again and make the watch feel even louder to me, because it just makes it feel nice and it changes things up a bit. As for the overall function for trips, it was perfect. Change the time zone back 2 hours when I get to Colorado, change the time zone back 2 hours when I get back to Indy. Super convenient. Now, is it convenient enough to justify the purchase of a GMT? Definitely not. Just stop the watch, turn it back. Is it fun though? It's pretty fun. So I definitely like it. I get a kick out of it. It's worth it for me. It's kind of silly, but it's worth it for me. Other than that, general fit and finish, am I happy that I kept the Explorer II over the Tudor Black Bay Pro? 100%. Now, I liked the Tudor Black Bay Pro. Don't get me wrong, it's a great watch, and it's not even that it's too thick, although it is, and I have a video I think I've already released about why Tudor has a thicker GMT watch. What I like about this one is its lightness. I like that I don't notice it. The Black Bay Pro, when I moved my arm, I felt it shifting its weight on my arm, and that's a preference thing. I don't like the watch head being so heavy that I can feel it moving around. Not to mention the fact that the bracelet was also heavier, and so the whole thing kind of felt like a decent amount of metal that was moving around, whereas this, I forget about it. I could put it on a leather strap and the thing completely vanishes. The Explorer II, it's not going anywhere. I loved it before, I definitely love it now. It's my amplifier of moments these days, and so that's how I feel about it. Let me know down below what you guys think. Do you have a watch like that? How has it amplified moments for you? I love hearing the stories of you guys having those kinds of moments with your own watches, whatever the watch is. Do me a favor and subscribe. The more people that do this, the more we can share, hopefully, my journey or your journeys with others. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.